Welcome to the Free Cheese episode 518. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
Hey.
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week, we're building the list with ObsCure, a classic high school horror video game set in an American town, brought to you by a French development studio. Before we dive into the game, talk about our time with it, and of course rank it on thefreecheese.com/the list, Mark, I would like to know, what was a secret within your high school? It could be real or not. You know, was there a secret being passed around, or was there something turned out to be false? Turned out my high school did not have a pool on the fourth floor.
Everybody
in fact, did not have a pool on the fourth floor, or a fourth floor at all.
Yeah, like I feel like everybody had that one. I almost said that. That's like the free spot on the bingo board.
Yeah. That was going to be my go-to, but not fourth floor, the roof.
Even like middle school, that was a thing. There wasn't really anything like that. It was more just like people just being nasty and spreading rumors about each other. Like, you know, oh, somebody did something with somebody under the stairs or something. Like, it was just always something like that.
I think the other thing that, like when I talk to, I've got, I don't know, 2-3 friends from high school that I still talk with. I think the one thing that really started happening by the end of high school is you're out more on your own, and therefore you start to see some of the teachers or administrators or whatever out and about. And like, I have vivid memories of just like the personal lives of some of these people, and you just realize that they're just as sad as everybody. Like, that's where I go to when I think back to the secrets of high school. It's like, I know all about that one guy's divorce.
Yeah.
It's just, you know what I mean? Like,
it kills your whole like image entirely.
Yeah,
no, I do
when
remember.
You're a kid and you see, like, when you're a kid, like in elementary school, and you see a teacher in a grocery store, you're like, what? You eat food? Yeah. But then, like, when you're almost an adult and you have a little bit of empathy starting to shine through, you're like, oh, he stays late at the school every night because he's divorced and sad, and he just wants to clean up the school and do nice things. Oh, yeah.
So, I did just remember, people were claiming because I was in 2 different high schools, but the one I was at that was more like an art magnet. They had like this whole room where you would just put like older equipment, either for art stuff or for like theater stuff, what have you. And they had a dark room in the corner, and I wasn't really in there much, so I don't know how great my memory is of this, but for some reason I like to believe to get to the dark room, that was a revolving door. It was just like a black wall that would rotate into the dark room. And people would say that like it would actually take you somewhere else. It wasn't actually a dark room or something like that. Like, there was a part of it. I don't know. It was weird.
Like a different dimension somewhere else kind of thing.
I wish it was that interesting. I think they were just like, it was just like a secret room of some kind that wasn't what you thought it was.
I see.
I was like, oh, this is, for an art school, this isn't that creative of a rumor or a secret,
you
guys.
Think they'd come up with something.
Dude, like, was there a demon? Like, do a little better.
Matt, what secrets lied within the halls?
The pool. I can't think of anything good.
So what I'm hearing is neither of your schools were haunted. Neither of your schools had a secret century-old conspiracy to unlock immortality.
No.
Beneath the floors.
I wish. When I did work at a school, I thought I saw a body across the way, but it was just a bookshelf.
I remember that picture.
I still have
vividly. Yeah. Yep. Our game this week, ObsCure, does in fact dive deep into the conspiracies that lie beneath the grounds of a high school. Developed by Hydrovision Entertainment, published by Dreamcatcher Interactive, released on the PlayStation 2, Windows, and Xbox. First released in North America on April 6th, 2005. back of the box reads, what haunts the halls at Leafmore High? Staying late after class takes on a whole new meaning in the first action game created in the style of teen horror movies. Tortured screams echo through Leafmore High's deserted corridors. Faceless creatures lurk in the shadows. 5 teenagers set out to bring light into the darkness and experience a night that will scar their souls forever. Featuring music by Sum 41 and Span.
Hell yeah.
So, am I still waiting?
For this world to stop hating?
Couldn't help it. So the big selling point, obviously, is Sum 41 and Span, whoever Span is.
I feel like I've heard a song from them outside of this game.
I never. But these songs, literally the opening intro cutscene to the game is your Sum 41 song, and it's cut off at that. Unless, did I skip the cutscene by accident? Or it does get cut off, right?
I think it does get cut off, but if you're playing on PC, they took that out entirely and just put in a track that wouldn't get you banned for streaming it.
Right. And then the Span song pops up in the end credits, and those are your songs. It's not a whole whatever, but I guess this was potential to move units. Mark, you added this game to our list. What brought one, I guess, where did you first hear about ObsCure, and what made it a candidate to go onto the list this year?
I think it's a game that I always saw in the background of my life, but just never looked into it. And then I started to see a little more about it, and Sum 41 was just kind of a cherry on top, because unironically, they were one of my favorite bands growing up. Yeah, it was a game I always saw, and then once I looked more into it, it just seemed like it would have been a fun game. Like, it didn't seem scary necessarily, but it was giving me very light Resident Evil vibes, just in terms of like the gameplay or whatever. Like, it was kind of like not so much the first one, but more like Outbreak.
Yeah, I get that.
So yeah, it was just I finally wanted to check it out and just see what it was.
Matt, prior to this being added to the list, had you known or heard of ObsCure?
I remember this box art from either GameStop or Blockbusters or something like that. I didn't know much about it kind of past that, but yeah, I remember the name and the box art.
I'm sure there's a world where I've seen it before, but my main recollection of this was mid-lockdown 2020, and we were all still group chatting it up and whatnot, and our friend Ben, we were talking about PlayStation 2 stuff,
right?
And he shared, like, oh, this game's dope, you should check this game out. And I did. I only played maybe the opening bit, like enough to like get moving, select a character, and like I probably got up to the point after like the opening bit with Kenny, and then into the part where you start actually navigating through the school, and then I don't think I finished it until this time, which I'm glad we had the chance to go. Like, when you added this to the list, I was very stoked because it was something that, oddly enough, like, so this game released in 2005, at least in North America. It released late 2004 in Europe, which aligns with me being in high school. So it's like a weird snapshot of a version of my history, but not at all close to it. Like, this is very much like when they say on the back of the box, the first action game created in the style of teen horror movies. This is very much Hollywood's idea of what high school is like. All of the kids seem like they're 36 or 37 rather than 15 or 16, which, granted, when you're in ninth grade, all of the seniors definitely seem like they're in their 30s, but by the time you're a senior, it's not that way at all, right? Like, your perspective shifts. And the campus is more like a college campus. Like, it's not...
It's huge.
Yeah. And I think there are maybe some American high schools that are like this, but it's definitely not like this.
Yeah.
But still, like, diving into this, you do get this kind of weird, I don't know, I kept getting like weird flashes back to high school, which I think partially is because I'm playing a PS2 game, but also it's set in high school. It's very much obviously in that, but I was very much kind of removed from time while playing this.
I like how they were like, it's inspired by like high school horror or whatever, but like movies, when the faculty is the one that sticks out the most to me.
So having not seen it, give me the, like, what's the synopsis of the faculty? How do you feel like it aligns with this?
I guess just more so the setting than anything, but and the fact that there is a character that straight up looks like Josh Hartnett. Stanley Jones, whatever. But the faculty, it is a kind of a different premise where it's like the teachers don't, or kids as well too, but mostly the teachers, they just, something doesn't seem right. They're not human, and it's like they're like taken over by some like parasite thing, and a little just a group of odd kids that normally wouldn't hang out together start to work together to try to survive and figure it out.
And this had nothing to do with Skulls? Was that the name of that was a different movie, right?
Skulls. That sounds familiar. Why can't I?
It was a movie, I think, also with Joshua Jackson or someone who's Joshua Jackson-esque. They all had these rings that had skulls on them. It was like part of a weird secret society.
Oh my god, like I feel like I can almost picture that, but right now the only skull ring I can think of is the Phantom.
Oh yeah. So I'd never seen this Skulls movie, but I remember someone giving me a Skulls ring for some reason. Sick. From the movie, like, and it was like a grandparent or something gave me this. Like, I don't know where or why they had it, why I ended up with it, but I wore it all the time. Maybe it was part of the secret society after all. So the game starts out, you are controlling a protagonist, Kenny, and he's your typical varsity athlete, wears sleeveless shirts and jeans, as we all do. And you get to play some basketball in the gym for a few minutes before, it's time to hit the locker room and head on out at night. For some reason, he's the only kid at school after hours, late night, in the gymnasium. Like, I don't know why that would ever have happened. Like, I feel like anytime I was there after hours...
That's where we start the disbelief.
Well,
I mean, okay. It's one thing if there was like after school recreational programs, because it would be around that time. But for just to be one kid throughout this entire school, and you mean not a single custodian was like, "Hey, get the hell out!
Yeah,
I gotta clean.
Get the hell out of here."
Yeah. No, Matt, you're right. This game, and this is like the first line of my review, is that video games require a certain level of suspension of disbelief that goes a little bit deeper in ObsCure, because you really have to just like cast aside what you remember of reality and just live in this one. And I think really if you do lean into the high school teen horror movie shtick, you'll have a much better time with this than if you do try and take it literally.
Oh yeah, you definitely got to turn your brain off a bit.
Yeah. This. I don't know if you're to go into it, but the whole opening sequence, it's bananas.
Are you talking about after the gym and that whole bit,
section with old Kenny?
Yeah. I mean,
Kenny's just a tutorial.
Yeah. So you play a little bit of basketball, you go to the locker room, you get a phone call, and then it's time to head out. And then as you do, I don't remember much else other than just kind of wandering.
Dude grabs
a couple of dead ends.
Like, dude grabs bag, he turns around, and he's like, "Oh, my bag." So then he pursues where he thinks the assailant went. And then he doesn't stop when it gets the creepy doors go down basement. He doesn't stop when he finds the duct tape and then the gun. He then proceeds to hear crazy noises down a ladder and is like, I'm just going to duct tape this light to a gun. I'm going to go down there. Then he sees blood on all the tables, proceeds to keep going, and then runs into our friend Dan, who looks sick as fuck, who's like, "Oh, you fell for it too? We should get you out of here." Then finally, Kenny's like, Oh yeah. And then fucks off with his bag. So I don't know what the hell was in that bag, but I think there's more than clothes in there.
You did a better job at summing that up than I think the Wikipedia page would have done. My notes, I've got, wait, where did he get a gun? Oh, wait, he's in high school, I get it. But, like, it was a pretty good cold open overall, like...
It set the atmosphere, it did do that, but it's just the ridiculousness of...
Yeah, like, he sees the cellar door open, he's like, oh, I didn't know we had that, and just, like, that's your reaction? You're just gonna go... And then the gun is right there, like, as the assailant's taking the bag, why did you even... Did you put the gun there? Did you... Why is there a gun in that garden shack? I don't know.
Oh, there's a better location for a gun later. I'll make sure I bring it up later because that's the highlight of my.
I have a couple of notes like throughout this where I'm just like, why are there so many? Let's just say this now. Why are there so many guns in the high school? I know that's like a bad real world topic, but like even in this, like, is it the French view of American high school? It's just that like. We have guns in schools, so therefore there are guns in schools. I don't get it. It was...
Somebody in France watched the faculty and then just ran with it.
I get it. Disbelief suspension, but my God, there's...
That's the beauty of trying to make something into a video game. It's like, all right, how do we...
Yeah.
How do we do this?
Because I think you also could have gotten through this game with other weapon types. Like, the monsters in the game, and I'm jumping ahead a bit, but like the monsters in the game do react to light. So like, we could have just done that you could have played with light the whole time. You could have played with flashlights. You do unlock stronger flashlights as you progress through the game. So maybe you just have to get strong, maybe it wouldn't have made for as good gameplay, but
flares or like a nail gun or like more like carpentry tools like or something.
This is like, hey, if you check the janitor's closet, you can find a shotgun.
That's the one. That's the best one. Dude?
Look, as a former janitor, that's pretty accurate, I gotta say.
Fair enough.
Kept it with my mops.
So did either of you feel like you screwed up the cold open, like by not escaping?
No, I made it up. I ran. I did the smart thing as a sane person.
Yeah, Dan was my decoy.
So Dan was my decoy as well, but the camera was my first enemy of the game because the enemies appeared off screen, and admittedly I didn't have the sound loud enough. This was the part where I was like, I gotta turn it up. I bet you I would have heard them had I whatever. So that tipped me off eventually. But but I was like, oh, did I screw up or did I escape? And that's a known event. You hit the even if you make it up the ladder to escape, Kenny gets got. Well, not gets got. He just gets taken. I don't want to lead the listener astray here and make you think that, Kenny gets taken out pretty early, because we do come back to Kenny later on. But then we are met with Josh, Shannon, and Ashley are three. And you get to choose between playing as one of those three, but also choosing one of the others as your partner. You can swap to the partner at any time. There's always kind of a central gathering area in the game that you all can run back to and meet up with, the other students you've encountered throughout the story. There's also a shortcut on the map to return to the gathering area whenever. So did either of you utilize that?
All the time.
Did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, I almost did it by accident. It was like, do you want to return to the gathering area? And I was like, no. And then for half of the game, I forgot it was there. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I think I've cleared everything here. I think I'm good. It's time to get over to that spot because as you go through the game, it's marking off like on your map, like here's a point of interest. And I'd start to work my way back through. And then I'm like, wait, I can just teleport. I'm going to teleport. So I would just do that. And
the game, I have to give game credit here. It wouldn't break sequence if you did that either. If like sometimes when you were returning out of an area back towards the gathering, there would be like a cutscene or whatever, it would actually stop you from teleporting all the way to the gathering and put you at the cutscene. Like watch the cutscene, of course, and then keep you at the cutscene area in case like you maybe don't need to go back. You want to maybe chase a character or something. So I have to say, at least that didn't sequence break anything.
That's a plus in the games column. But from the initial outset of, once you kind of open up and you can select your character, that is what you start to do is just the rest of the game. Your whole mission is to uncover the mystery that's happening here, find out what happened to Kenny, find out what's been happening to all of these kids, because as you start to investigate, you start to learn that more and more students have been missing throughout the years and the decades that the school has been open. And you do this through a series of Mark kind of summed it up in the opening, like it's a little Resident Evil-esque where you're just kind of searching for items. You combine items in certain cases to solve puzzles isn't really the right term here, but you're unlocking doors is the main thing.
There's maybe a puzzle or two sprinkled in, but it's nothing it's not constant.
Yeah, there's the safe at some point, but I can't think of a second one. I don't know. Yeah. I guess the statues, but you are mainly doing that, and then occasionally some weird monsters pop up that you have to fend off, and you do that, rinse and repeat until you've kind of covered all the ground in the school, find out a bit about its history, fight a final boss, the end. Working through it, gameplay-wise, how did you guys feel it controlled? I know that's an almost 20-year-old game. Were you overwhelmed, underwhelmed? Was it missing anything? Did it feel just right?
I mean, as far as era, I had definitely to get used to it, but once I get used to it, I didn't have problems per se. I was very close to restarting this game about an hour in because I was just getting my teeth kicked in because I didn't know combat. I didn't know what kind of game this was yet. I didn't know this was like a Resident Evil conserve your ammo and beat things with a bat, or guns blazing, let's go, or just run all the time. Right. It more so guns blazing more than I thought it was ever going to be, but once I think I figured out the buttons better and its gameplay loop a little bit, game of its era. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's not perfect, but it's not bad either.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of jank, but it wasn't enough to hinder me from completing this game. I still think the camera is your biggest enemy throughout this whole thing. Yeah. Because it's fixed camera angles, and that works more against you than anything. But as far as moving the characters around, having that combat mechanics and stuff, I thought that was pretty okay, pretty solid. Granted, I'm playing on the Steam version, and they did update that more, but I think that's more resolution-wise updates than anything, visual stuff. I'm not sure if it really touched on the gameplay exactly, but had better controller support and all that. But I think it moved fine. The combat was a little weird to understand at first.
Yeah.
But then I learned more about it, and after once you get acclimated,
yeah, because it
kind of became second nature.
You press R1 to lift your weapon and then X to actually use it. And I really actually like the way you navigate inventory. You've got your weapons are bound to R2 and then your items are bound to L2.
Yeah.
And then you press either of those and then use the corresponding analog stick to scroll through the menus there. That I thought was a really neat way to do inventory management in a game like this, especially on the fly. I got to a point where I really wasn't running out of ammo too much. Right. But the occasional time I did, or later on you start to get again, it's so absurd, but you get so many guns while you're locked inside this high school, but you get enough guns that you kind of think, right, just video game logic, that I'm deeper into this game, therefore the gun I just got is probably better than the one I've been using. Let me switch to that. I had a few opportunities or moments like that where I was like, this gun kind of sucks, I'm going to go back to the shotgun. Or this gun kind of sucks, I'm going to go back to the pistol. And it was very nice, you realize that as you're in the middle of combat. It's very quick to, hold R2, push up. It still keeps you in the game. You're not pausing and going through an inventory menu like that, which I appreciated in a way I didn't think.
Also, the auto aim.
Oh my! There's no way you could play this game without it. Like that was
that was that was a big savior for a lot of things.
And you also, I think you were speaking specifically about controls, but like the overall like criticism of this game has a little bit to it, like nothing that's gonna stand out and make you fully dislike the game. And I kind of felt that way throughout. Like there are things about this game that you can like really be like, ugh, that's a little rough around the edges. It's a little whatever, but nothing that ever breaks the experience. And like for as many things that kind of pulled me out, like I found there were weird elements to the localization. Like while the kids are speaking, like even in the campus itself, it's referred to as a sick bay. I'm like, we don't have a sick bay. That's not something we have here. There's a point when you're in the, what do you call it? The teacher's lounge, and you get a look at Stan, the stoner kid's grades, and they're referred to as marks. And like, we don't, that's not, we don't call them marks here. They're grades. Yeah. So like a couple of those things, but then for as many of those, you also had like, you better quit jerking me. Like these stupid phrases that are like so of the time and just,
and
they
guns
fit really well. Like, did you guys have any little moments jotted down, little phrases from your favorite characters, or?
I don't know if they're my favorite, but
there's nothing left for us here.
Yes. So, and I'm not sure if we were gonna touch on it later,
I think
but
this is probably the time to touch on this.
Okay. So yeah, like, each character has like their own special ability, and that's kind of the reason to keep switching between characters throughout the game if you need to. So like one is better at finding items to either like pick up or whatever. One is better at knowing what to do next. One is better at like attacking. One is better at picking locks quicker than everyone else. So it's just a lot of stuff like that. And I think it was Stanley. No, it was Josh. Josh is the one who's able to identify items quicker or something like that. And so if you need to like check a room in case you miss something, you use him to scan it. And then he's always like, there's nothing here for us anymore. Like whatever he says.
There's nothing left for us here.
Was he your favorite of the special abilities?
Probably most useful.
Like he was useful towards the end, but no, I think ability wise it might have been Stanley.
With lock picking and whatnot.
Yeah, that was just so quick. It was ridiculous.
I ran with Josh probably from the very beginning of this game to the very end. I was hanging out with Shannon because I thought I needed the heal boost a bit, and then once we'll get to it later, but once I found out how to make this game easy mode, I no longer needed Shannon and instead brought in Ashley into the fold with her double tap.
Ashley has the double tap, which was great.
Still burns 2 bullets or whatever, but double tap.
Yeah. You're not conserving ammunition, but you're taking 2 shots at once, which is great.
And she's quicker with melee weapons too.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah. I did really appreciate that one of the first things the game does while you're in this school, which like I get that they're locked in the school, some shady stuff's happening, and you would. Sorry, I'm going to keep coming back to all these weird moments where I needed to suspend disbelief, but still, bear with me. The first thing you do when you gain control of a character is pick up a bat and break a window.
Hell yeah!
One of the, like, it's so absurd. Like,
I loosely use guides for some of our podcast games, and I needed to use a guide right away because I didn't realize you just beat in a door.
Yeah,
to begin. And then you proceed to just hit everything with the vending machine.
No, it was intuitive to me to do it. Just, I don't think real life was probably not, but I was definitely like trying to find my way out of that little room. And I'm like, all right, well, this door is locked. Clearly this door is locked. This door has glass on it and it's still locked, but it seems different than the others. I have a bat. Is this how you swing? Oh, okay. Got you. So
yeah, it was a good, it was a good idea design-wise to just, like, have a room that you don't have to worry about your life, and you could just kind of mess around with everything right then and there. But it also wasn't intuitive enough to be like, all right, here's how you do this, or they do it real quick, but it's like more so for like your partner commands or whatever. Like they teach you that real quick, but everything else you kind of have to learn on your own right there. But once you're out of that, it's pretty. I feel like it's a bit of a breeze in a sense of just you can just kind of tell what you got to do at each spot when you get to it.
Also, I know we got to suspend disbelief some, but don't you love how Kenny was able to leave the campus no problem in the middle of the night, but then all of a sudden it's 6 o'clock broad daylight and the kids can't get out?
There's so many weird little plot holes, but just suspend disbelief. Yeah. Were there any areas that stood out to you as good or bad or fun to explore?
I think the first part of the game I enjoyed the most exploring wise.
Is it because it was just fresh? And because I will say, like, most of the game is the same. It's different rooms, different backdrops, but yeah.
The layout of this unbelievable high school gave me Spencer Mansion vibes, just with a high school texture pack on it. Where, like, you got the stairs coming up, and then the stairs split, and then you have, like, that second floor, and you go into each of those rooms. Like, it was... I'm not going to say one for one, but it definitely had that inspiration in there. It was hard to not compare that. And then, like, the atmosphere is building. You hear all these sounds, and you think they're creatures, but it's really just noise. There's nothing to it, really, for the most part. But I love that, like, stock horror movie sounds that you just hear throughout it. It just gave, like, a nice, like, haunted attraction vibe. So, like, the game, it just, for me, I embraced the cheese in that respect a little bit. But it was just cool kind of figure that out. And then once it opened up more, it wasn't as... I guess impactful because you're just so used to it at that point. But yeah, so it was a strong start for atmosphere.
Matt, did you like the theater? Did you like the...
Well, the theater, I thought we were going to get some good mitochondria action, but that never sufficed.
I know.
Yeah, unfortunately. No, I don't know. I guess I kind of like the, it's probably not the game's strongest place, but it was the most interesting because it was a breath of fresh air, but, like, the underground portion of the game just mixed it up enough.
Yeah, because it was, like, the one spot where they weren't, like, confined to it needs to vaguely resemble a high school. They could just sort of say, like, it's a crazy lab.
Yeah, here's a lab. Yeah,
Resident
Evil and then it got some interesting design choices, like, because there's that one area that's, like, all, like, the plants and stuff, so you're kind of like, what's going on down here? And, the story is what the story is, whatever, but, no, that was, like, a breath of fresh air at that point, after you've been through, like, 4 different areas of the school, and you all kind of, like, maybe besides the theater, are very much like hallways with doors.
Yeah.
Like Mark said, east wing, west wing of the Spencer Mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only difference is this time you had Monster Energy drink cans littered about. Visually, they all fit very much the traditional teen movie archetype of the era. You really could, like, this could have been a movie tie-in game. It was that kind of... they did a really, really great job. I can't emphasize, like, how much they captured that whatever idyllic look at high school drama, whatever that we had back then. Then visually, like, the characters... I ended up, after the game, when you beat it, you unlock some, like, bonus content. And I looked at the making of, and you can see, like, how they did motion capture and, like, the clothes they were wearing, and there's so many times now, and I know we'll just keep doing this for the rest of our lives every 5 to 10 years, but looking back at this, like, it still feels so much like the 90s, even though it was 2005, but the styles and stuff. Like you look at the pants they're wearing and the shoes, and it's like, what is this, 1999? But like,
just to give some context, The Faculty came out in 1998.
So the fact that this is like still on point with that, like, yeah, I mean, we really did not shed that stuff.
But I
like,
totally
I think people still have
dressed
bleached tips in 2005, right?
Yeah, oh, definitely. But like, I totally dressed like Stanley in high school. Like, I always wore the long sleeve under the t-shirt, baggy jeans, chain wallet, beanie.
Yep.
Pistol. No.
gotta bring it on. But I found that, overall, like, each area did kind of have its own feel. Like, I know, like, everything was generally like the school feeling, but like you did have a sense that, like, oh, I'm in the cafeteria now. Like, I feel like they did a good job at crafting different areas of a school. The characters all, while these very specific archetypes did feel unique from one another, visually speaking, at least, like, different styles to them. You could tell, like, which clique each of them kind of fell into. They all have their little bit, and then, of course, they're forced together in this unlikely scenario.
Yeah, but it wasn't like Breakfast Club. They all came from their clique and have to be molded together.
You're right.
They're all like friends.
There is some shared circles, yeah.
Yeah,
one's a girlfriend,
capacity.
one's a sister.
Because you got to look for Kenny, and we're going to meet at 6:00 in the cafeteria.
Yes. I think sound plays, we talked about it before, but sound plays a little bit of an important piece because you're kind of required. Sound triggers when there's enemies appearing, and where the camera is your biggest enemy in the game. I found myself often, like, I'd hear the hear the music, or you see the visual cue of like this kind of black smoke creeping in that is your cue of like, oh, there's enemies somewhere. You might not see them yet, but they're there. Thanks to the auto aim, usually you just hold R1, it'll find the thing for you, and you can hit X and take them out. But other than that, like, there was nothing remarkable sound-wise. I think the voice acting was well done, at least. I think they all sounded like high school kids for the most part.
Is this... I'm not confused as another game I played recently. Is this the one where, like, the lip sync and, like, the voice acting... or like the voice is just super fast and just completely out of sync?
Okay, so I had that issue with the cutscenes where like they were talking, the sound was faster than the video.
Yes, I had that too. Was that just a PC thing though?
I
think so, because the PS2 version was okay.
Okay.
Maybe like things were just too clean and optimized.
Too many frames.
Yeah.
We weren't master race in this game.
No. Not in that department.
Okay, all right. So just the PC version, I guess.
I think like it didn't stand out to me in a noticeable way.
It would have stood out.
Yeah,
there was a few cutscenes that were like really bad. I was like, oh wow, okay.
But I think it kind of added to like the cheesiness for some reason.
I
inadvertently.
Yeah.
If you want to approach it that way, you definitely could.
Remember, at this point, we had already had old Ketty wander down to the bloody basement for his bag.
Yeah, you're already,
No concern in the world.
None. Good thing I found this guy.
I have a question. Did you all play this single player, or did you do co-op with somebody?
Single player. Uneasy.
How's the co-op experience?
Sorry. I'll get that in a second.
I think this was better suited for that specifically. I think this was designed from the start to be a co-op game, obviously, since they want you to have a partner at all times. Though it's probably a little more convenient to probably just switch to a character or like have that. I don't think the AI is that bad from the little that I played by myself. I don't know how it was for y'all, if it was more beneficial.
It's actually fantastic. And it's not the AI, it's the game design.
Yeah. But like so Steam is a little weird with it. You have to do remote play. They don't have straight up co-op. Just like so servers. But ObsCure 2 does have it, so you don't have to worry about it for that one if anyone looks into that. But remote play was a little tricky to set up because I just never done it before. But like, I had to set the controls, and it wasn't hard. But once that was going, we started to learn just like kind of how to cheese the game a little bit, or where it's like, hey, if one of you is near the exit and you're about to get attacked and we're not ready to fight this monster, we're just gonna leave the room and then come back in, reset the room.
One thing I was wondering, does the game go like split screen if you're off screen?
No, it shares the whoever it by default it shares player 1's camera, but player 2 can take the focus and they can take the camera, but it never splits off. You are like you could be off screen. So it will only follow that player, but you can choose who you want it to follow, which is cool. And then that's how we learned that ammunition is shared. Your health isn't necessarily shared, but it is hard to tell who got hurt sometimes.
The only way, and you guys tell me there's something I missed, but the only way I could tell is when I would visibly see someone grab their stomach and lean forward.
There was
the only way I knew I was healed is if I gave them enough Monster Energy drinks or first aid kits for them to say, I feel great.
So I had to learn by obviously like the frame of the screen gets like a red vignette when you know you're pretty bad, even if you're not holding yourself like you got wounded, because that if you're holding yourself wounded, that's like one more hit, like somebody could fart on you and you're dead. But it could still be red before that, and the only way that I could know is if when you go to heal, it always gives you an option to choose either yourself or your partner. And once you don't see it for yourself anymore and you know what your partner, that's the only way I could tell that they were hurt. Otherwise, there's no indicator. There's no like press start, go to a menu, or you see like a vitals or anything like that.
So actually there is on the pause menu.
Is there?
It's the picture when you're looking at like the character traits, the picture has like little like blood marks that go up and down depending. The more bloodier, the more hurt.
Okay, see that's thank you for that, because
I never looked at that menu. Like once
exactly
when I would I opened it and I was like, "What is this? Oh, okay, cool."
It never felt important to go to.
Hey, that's what happens to get your ass kicked for an hour. You learn things like that. That was the that was the Resident Evil Vital little thing.
See, like everything else in that game, you don't really need to go to a menu for necessarily outside of the map. Maybe, right? But and like the notes, if you care about that lore, that's very predictable. But like, other than that, it's like you would think something like that would have been shared with the rest of your stuff on the main screen. So yeah, it just wasn't a thing to think about to go to a check. So I'm glad that you found that detail.
What was your easy mode hack?
Yeah, so Mark kind of said that you share ammo in co-op, which I thought would be the case with the AI, much like Resident Evil 5, where the AI would eat up all your bullets. They do not go into your ammo count. So, if this is where some of the AI logic comes in, but say a gun has like 6 bullets or whatever, or six in the clip. Mm-hmm. If the AI shoots, you just have to keep track of it. If it shoots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the AI then on the next trigger pull will do the reload animation. If they do the reload animation, and on their end, it does not feed into your bullet count. It's only when you reload for them. So they'll continuously, outside of battle, let's say in that same gun, it's 6 bullets. If they fire 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's been a couple minutes since the last fire, you're going to have to remember they fired twice, and then they're going to have to reload. But as long as they are the ones reloading, they will not hit your ammo count. So once I learned that, I gave them the fucking shotguns, and I just kind of pulled up my gun, took a step back, and said, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me. And then they just started spamming away, and then one never reloaded, and that's why I took a couple pot shots. So that's how I ended up beating the game.
So, yeah, I had to use we just decided not to share the same weapon unless necessary. Otherwise, I'd be shotgun, partner would be pistol. That way we have our own stuff to worry about.
Yeah, at first I was kind of like that setup where I was like, I guess I'll I'll kind of like take the lead on the ammo, but yeah, at times I guess early on before you get shotgun, there's like 2 pistols. And it's like, I don't really see my ammo count going down as much as and then I did right at a CD save. It was like an enemy, and I was like, this is my For Science moment. And then, I discovered it.
I love that CDs are saved. Like, is it CDs?
Oh my god,
it's CD-ROM.
That was DVDs.
I think it's CD, or is it DVD now?
No, they were CDs.
Okay.
It was that blew my mind because when I first found it, I was like, oh, okay, a CD. Like, to me, it wasn't the save thing. It was like, oh, I found content or something.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, you use it to save? And I'm like, all right. So I treated it like ink ribbon. I was like, I take it to a computer.
Yeah, you'd need.
No, you just have it, and that's it. You are the computer, essentially. You just shove it into your head. No, you don't actually shove it into your head, but that's just how I pictured it.
Yeah,
like,
something happens. Some magic happens.
I was like, I felt so dumb for some reason. I was like, this is like, I overthought it, I guess, or overcorrected in my head that I thought I had to go somewhere to use them, and the whole time it was just, right there.
Yeah, you can kind of manipulate it. It's almost Ori and the Blind Forest. I don't know why this game took me back there, but they have that very similar, like, you make your own save points. So, like, if you die, you just go right back there, or that's like your heal or whatever. It reminded me of that, and that's kind of how I used it. There'd be some backtracking if I die, but when I felt like I accomplished something, I would save.
Yeah.
And then
it wasn't like towards the end that I started to use them a lot more.
Yeah, I think I ended with 1 left, but I kind of paced them perfectly to like have 1 right at the last thing, or I had 2 right at the last thing, so I had like I said 1 left over. So okay, all right. That boss battle at the end, the entire game, you're taught that it's good to have a partner with you.
Yeah.
That was a lot easier by yourself than with a partner.
Yeah,
AI partners, sure.
Yeah, AI.
Yeah, I guess, it probably would have been better with a real person playing, but there's a boss that has 5 appendages. You need to make your way around. You have to go full 360 around this boss, shooting each appendage the whole time. But yeah, there's certain like attacks. Yeah. Granted, so once you kill 1 appendage, a beam of light comes down from the sky. You need to get into that light because a big like area of effect attack is going to happen, and it will kill you or your partner if you're not in the thing. The partner was very good because I was never sure, like, did I get it? But usually the AI partner would run right to where the circle is about to open up, the light circle, before I even knew that it was opening up. So it's like, okay, I got it. I can run over now. But if it was doing any of those like sweeping attacks with its things or branches or whatever, yeah, like you're not gonna.
It took a lot of trial and error to understand the pattern and be like, all right, yeah, we have to like walk into that dark mold crap for a second, hurt ourselves to get back out of it.
Yeah, I was like, how to... I saw the appendage... Once I got the appendages thing down, I took out, the 3 front ones, which are easy to... pretty much attainable to get to. But there's that one that's on the side that's like... and then the beam of light's like partially blocked, and I guess that was like the tell. I was like, I guess I can get over there. Then I walked down, and I was like, oh,
it slows you down too.
Yeah,
and I didn't even think... And I should have done it to begin with, because I wonder if this was the trick to do it. I think you probably needed to shine your flashlight there so you weren't slow.
I didn't think about that.
I bet you that was a thing you had to do right there, but we never did that, so it took us a little bit.
My character, I think I finished it with Ashley. Ashley was all jacked up on Monster Energy during that fight. Let me tell you what, she had at least 7 cans.
So, like, even though I liked Stanley's perk, I was mostly Shannon throughout the whole thing.
Because of the healing,
just for the sake of just being a character, because it was Shannon and Ashley, and we wanted them to live more than anything. Well, I guess that's the other thing. Did y'all make it out with everyone?
I did,
yeah. I didn't save Scum, but like I would go back to my save as soon as he died.
We did lose Shannon and Ashley. We're like, no, come on, we made it this far. We gotta do this right, and so we did correct it. But yeah, just that I like that was kind of a thing where it's like it doesn't really change much of the game, but it's kind of interesting where like you can just beat other characters and like pick up, but you have to go back and pick up all your stuff because it's all on them.
Well, that was one thing that's kind of neat. I mean, yeah, that part, but like you get unique dialogue depending on who you have in your party and stuff like that.
Right.
So I assume like the ending plays out a little bit differently, like the cutscene or whatever.
I feel like they all
main ones, I think.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if Kenny was going to be like, "Hey, where's my sister?" or "Where's my girlfriend?" or something. You know, the two main people that should be in this game more than anyone is those two connected to Kenny.
So I don't know why I wrote this down, but I could not. This kept haunting me as I played the game. I just remembered while playing this that Moby exists and that Moby sucks. There's no reference to Moby. I don't know if I was just like being pulled back to this era, but I just kept remembering Moby, and I just want to say that Moby sucks, and we can move on.
That's just our segment for each episode.
Yeah, that's all. I also want to know, why was the school play for Saturday night called Puck?
Was it?
Yeah, dude. Like, there's a big.
I haven't noted, but right, yeah,
not marquee, but like a little easel board, signboard outside of the theater.
See, I was too enamored by like the design and layout of this theater for a high school. I'm like, this is like a small little theater I'd probably see in like the city or something. Like, this is kind of nice and a little too nice, I feel.
While we're in the theater, one more bitching moment. Who had fun trying to figure out that elevator puzzle? What should have even been a puzzle? That should have been super straightforward.
Oh yeah,
so
you had to put up the board of wood.
Wrong.
So I could. To me, it was a little too telegraphed. So I kind of knew what to do before I even had to do it.
Oh, so I didn't lose a character or anything. I didn't get that cut all, but like I didn't know you had to put up a piece of wood.
Because I remember picking that wood up and I was like, where am I ever gonna use? Oh, this thing's open. I bet you because they telegraphed that like you have to lock it. I was like, oh, I bet it's.
I figured you're gonna have to. I thought it was like a ladder down or something.
Sure, okay.
And I was like, all right, yeah, I can see the lock being a thing there.
Now that's the thing. I didn't see the ladder on the inside of that elevator. I just knew I had to prop it open, but I didn't see that I had to go in to go down or whatever.
Yeah, it was very.
It was hard for me to see that.
It was also confusing because you think elevator and you know you have to go down at that point, or you're trying to go down, but then you go up and there's it's seemingly a boss character.
Yeah,
sure, and then you can't go down. Like when you go down, I was stuck there for like 15 minutes.
And there was one bullcrap part that we had to reload to save a couple times. One was in the dormitory. Because there's a dormitory.
Yeah.
That's why I thought this was like boarding school.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's that part where there's like the cracks in the floor on the second story. And we realized how RNG that is. Because it's not always the same spot. And just because there's cracks in the floor does not mean and if you're avoiding them, doesn't mean you're safe. Because I fell through the floor and there were no cracks on the texture I was walking on. I think it's all sound-based, because you can hear when it's creaking. I think you just gotta know when to avoid the sound. But they make you think it's all about the visuals.
I went with the visuals on that.
And more often than not, you get lucky. But there was a couple times where we just got shafted because of it.
I had to reload a save a couple times. It took me a couple times to
right
realize there was cracks. Well, that first time I was like, running.
Yeah.
I do love how uneventful deaths are in this game. Like, it's just like
they fall over.
They fall over, and then you
get
cut. You cut to the person, and then if that person dies, just cut to back to the gathering area. Like,
they'll make a little comment once you find them, but that's about it.
Oh, I never made it that far.
Yeah.
Overall thoughts before we rank this thing?
This is a fine game.
It sure is.
I think this is a pretty decent co-op game. If you're if you're looking for that type of game with somebody, where it's just a dumb little. It's a short game. It's like 5 to 7 hours, depending on how much you have to backtrack.
If you would have told me Midway,
whatever. But
if you would have told me Midway published this, I would have believed you.
I kept having to double check when I was getting show notes together that this was not Midway because it felt like a Midway game. Which, credit to the developers, I suppose. I don't know.
They made fine
I'm also
games.
surprised
They made fine games.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like with them being gone, I'm surprised this is out on Steam still that you can buy and play. Like it's odd. Well, we've reached that point in the episode when we rank this against every other game on our list. You can follow along with everything we've ranked so far at thefreecheese.com/thelist. Yikes. Matt, you had to say Midway. Now you got me.
What?
No, I was having a tough time, but I think I kind of know exactly where this goes now.
I think I can see you thinking where it goes.
Yeah.
I was a bit higher on it because I think PsyOps is a sandbox game. Like it was they had a cool mechanic and they wanted to try and flesh it out, and it doesn't necessarily work by the time you get to the end of that game.
I am also leaning higher.
All right, where are you all thinking?
I'm above, like right above Star Fox Assault.
So that's number 44 on our list for the listeners.
I was above Toe Jam and Earl.
I was above Toe Jam and Earl like when we first looked at it, and then thinking Midway, I put it like just above PsyOps, below Perfect Dark. But I think I can come up.
I'd probably go above. Hey, game dev stories in the middle of all that. That's my knockoff. But if we go above game dev, I'll go above Toe Jam and Earl.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it above Amplitude.
Nah, no, neither am I.
I don't think I'd go above game dev. That might be I'd put it over Star Fox, but I think game dev as an experience feels more solid than this.
I don't want it to go above game dev.
It's
Marty,
also very... it's just very weird to compare, because one's just like a menu tapping game, and the other is not that.
No, they're two very different things, but I think...
That's why I was like above Toe Jam and Earl, because Toe Jam kind of shares a little bit more similarity. But
yeah, but I feel like...
But hey, I mean, if that's how you two feel, let's go with the wave.
I think
it's above Star Fox, but that's what we all agree on. So.
Yeah, I think that for sure. I think with
at least with game dev, like there's not a lot going against you. You know, in terms of like camera and weird boss fight, you know what I mean? Just like there's not a lot of room for error in that respect.
I think the main thing for me in game dev is just it's a tight experience. It knows what it wants to be. It is that, and it does it effectively.
Yeah, like this, as much as it is short and completable, like I did this in a sitting, it's also like a lot of the same stuff, a lot of, repeat, like backtracking, whatever, that felt kind of useless in a way. Just like you could have cut out like, I don't know, or there was just like some unrealized stuff. Like you go to the theater, but then you go back to the theater to play a different film. Like the fact that was the only way to like get that information felt like just cumbersome in a way that like.
Yeah, I can.
On the
see
fly,
that.
I'm not coming up with a better answer for it. So I guess Game Dev Story did me no help with game dev ideas. But yeah, like there were, I think just gameplay loop as a whole.
There was more room for error with ObsCure because of the type of game that it is. But no, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's all subjective anyway. But
yeah, we're splitting hairs. But All right, well, there it is. Our new number 44, ObsCure. And that's episode 518 of the Free Cheese Podcast. If you like this episode, you can find it and the rest of our podcasts over on thefreecheese.com. You can also come back next week. ObsCure had a sequel, which we're not talking about, but we are talking about a sequel to another game on our list. Quake 2 joins the list next week. Quake, our number 2 video game on the list as of this recording. Will it be dethroned by its successor? Tune in and find out. Until then, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. See you next time. Bye.